Okay, you know, a longer barrel is going to provide more velocity. That means that with more velocity, you'll be able to deliver hydrostatic shock and bullet fragmentation out to a further range, further distance. And just using rough numbers, the 5.56 cartridge, you can figure that if you have a 20-inch barrel, it's gonna give you still hydrostatic shock and good fragmentation out to about 200 yards. And then if it's a 16-inch barrel or less, it's gonna be just a little over 100 yards. So you're basically, with the longer barrel, extending the effective range of the 5.56 cartridge, and that's mainly what I'm gonna focus on today. Now, which rifle here has the longest barrel? A, this AR-15, made by BCM, or B, the RDB, made by KelTec. Longer barrel, which one is it? A, the AR-15, or B, the RDB by KelTec? Now this is, you know, you can probably figure this is probably a trick question. So you're probably going, well, if you're not familiar with Bullpups, you're probably going, well, this looks like a longer barrel, but if he's asking the question, it must be this one. So good thinking, because that's the case. The RDB here has a 20-inch barrel. This AR has a 16-inch barrel. Now, how is that possible? Well, this is a bullpup rifle. And what is a bullpup rifle? A bullpup rifle is where the action or the chamber is behind the trigger. So, some clues. Here's our pistol grip with the trigger, and the action, the chamber is actually back here. Compared to the AR, here is our trigger and our pistol grip, and you can see there's the bolt, and the chamber is actually up here. So the conventional rifle, the chamber is well forward of the trigger. The bullpup rifle, the chamber is behind the trigger. Now, to help kind of concretize that, just look at the position of these two rifles, the magazine, or the location of the magazine of these two rifles. If you position the magazines where they're equal, you can see that the triggers are in much different places. Now, of course, the advantage of a bullpup design, like the KelTec RDB or the Desert Tech MDR, is that you have a rifle with an overall length that is much less than a conventional rifle like the AR-15. In fact, overall, even though this has a 20-inch barrel, this has a 4-inch longer barrel than this rifle. This is about a 29 to 30-inch long rifle, and it's about 5 inches shorter than this one with the stock fully extended, maybe 6 inches with it all the way out. Now, that's one of the reasons that I regard the AR-15 platform, though very highly refined and perfected, it's at the best it can be. This is an excellent example of BCM Recce, but that's why I regard the AR M4 platform as something of a relic at this point. With features like the modern bullpups, like these produced by Desert Tech and KelTec, these are a significant advantage for the mobile ambidextrous or ambidextral gunfighter. So, in short, the advantage in a shorter overall package, we have the ability to deliver hydrostatic shock and bullet fragmentation out at longer ranges, even though it's a shorter overall package. The shorter overall package means we can get in and out of vehicles easier. We can get close behind cover, much closer behind cover, about 5 or 6 inches closer behind cover than we can with an AR, because of that barrel extending way out past the pistol grip. Also, the bullpup design is better balanced, so you can see that basically right here at the fulcrum of my thumb, the web of my thumb, this rifle pretty much has a kind of a negative or neutral balance. Whereas the AR-15 is very, very muzzle heavy. It would challenge me to hold it like this for a very long period of time. You see I'm already shaking a little bit. That's a lot of weight out past there. Whereas at this fulcrum point on the Bullpup, most of the weight is back behind my fulcrum point. So it's balanced. Now, why is that important? That's important for diving. If you're diving into cover, that balance gives you the ability to, when you dive and you hit the ground, that there isn't an excessive amount of weight up here that's going to cause that muzzle to drop and dig into the dirt and make for a rather awkward battlefield situation. If you hold your pistol grip and dive into cover with this, I guarantee you, no matter how strong you are, the weight of that muzzle is going to carry down, and it's going to dig in and catch your shoulder, collarbone, perhaps cause an injury. Now that's why if you dive with this, you actually have to shift from your firing grip up forward of the mag well to get that balance point to where you can dive with it. Now the other advantage, of course, is just simple one-handed operation. With the balance, you're able to actually manipulate and fire this weapon while doing other tasks with the free hand. Your support hand isn't really needed. It's really mainly to steady the barrel. So it's not necessarily to actually hold it up. Whereas on the AR-15, you really need support. It's actually a support. Bullpup, not so much for support, it's the steadying arm, not really support arm. So a little bit different. Also, with that lighter weight out on the muzzle, this will swing from side to side much easier. There's less inertia to overcome to get this moving, to engage targets from one location to another. Whereas the AR-15, the technique that the three gun and run and gun shooters have developed is that C-clamp hold, where you hold way out towards the muzzle, extending this support arm way out there so that you can shift, get leverage on that long muzzle and shift it from target to target. So weight closer to the body on the Bullpup, the weight is all much closer to your body for more of a turret, smoother, easier, faster moving turret effect than the AR, where weight is distributed out much further from the body. Now that sounds like all unicorns and sunshine and everything. The Bullpup, clearly a huge advantage, and I do think it is, but there are downsides to the Bullpup design. And probably the biggest one is malfunction handling. Now whereas the AR-15, you can actually see right directly, you can see your bolt carrier group there, and you can easily look into the chamber, deal with malfunctions, double feeds or whatever, stovepipes are right here, easy to deal with right out in the open. Now the Bullpup design, because its bolt is way up in there, to actually do a chamber check, you have to look way up inside there. A malfunction in there is going to be much more difficult to deal with. And then if you do have a really serious malfunction on the AR-15, it's easy to pop one pin out, rotate the upper out of place, and pull the bolt carrier group completely out of the rifle within just a few seconds. With the Bullpup design, things are just a little more complicated, and it could be due to the lack of maturity of the design, but to get these apart, to get to the bolt carrier group, we've got 2 pins to take out, and then when it comes apart, it's a much more awkward situation especially for reassembly. So that's the downsides of the Bullpup. But I think, in my opinion, a good ambidextrous Bullpup is a huge advantage if you're gunfighting. And I think of it as, I try to imagine from my paintball days, if I were on a paintball field, and instead of paintball guns, we were gunfighting with real guns, and instead of inflatable bunkers, they were all suddenly turned into concrete. I know for certain that this would be the choice for a battlefield rifle in that scenario. And I think that kind of mimics a lot of the urban gunfighting scenarios as well. The ability to run and gun, dive, switch hands easily with that balance makes it so much easier to change from shooting right-handed to left-handed. It is much easier with the Bullpup. In fact, you can do the single-handed pistol grip transfer if you like. The AR-15, doing that single-handed pistol grip transfer is almost impossible, or very likely to drop the weapon. So it becomes more of a little more involved. And but then the main thing is that the AR platform really has no potential for being a truly 100% ambidextrous rifle. It's just you cannot make it to where the magazine release is identical on both sides. Now this one does have an upgrade that kind of mimics a magazine release on this side, but then the bolt release is on this side, and there's no way to put a perfectly mirrored bolt release on this side to put you right into the ejection port. Whereas the Desert Tech MDR and the KelTec RDB both have perfectly ambidextrous controls, perfectly mirrored. They work identically on both sides. So that's a huge advantage for the Ambidextral Gunfighter. That's why I view the Bullpups, like the Desert Tech MDR and the KelTec RDB or the KelTec RFB, as being the ambidextral rifles. Now there are other Bullpups which I don't even consider because they are not ambidextrous. For example, the IWI Tavor, it is not ambidextrous. I think it can be switched, or it can be either left-handed or right-handed, but it is not where you can dynamically switch hands in the middle of a gunfight. And the same goes for the Steyr AUG, the Steyr AUG. Again, not ambidextrous. So to me, those are just out of the running completely. Regardless, I don't care. Let's say that this is a little bit less reliable than, say, a Steyr or IWI. The advantage in gunfighting and that mobility, to be able to make optimal use of cover, being ambidextrous, it is huge. So KelTec RDB, Desert Tech MDR are the choices, in my opinion, for the Ambidextral Gunfighter. And that is why the Bullpup rifle makes the AR-15, the M4 platform, a relic. And it's not that it's junk. I mean, this platform is highly refined. It's at the peak of its perfection. It's just absolutely as good as it can be. But it's a 60-year-old design, and it's just it's made back when nobody thought, really to be ambidextrous when gunfighting. And now I think, I don't know if it's thanks to Paintball and Airsoft, but now we know that if you want to survive a gunfight, the first rule is don't get shot, and you do that by making optimal use of cover, and that is done. One of the key ways of making optimal use of cover is by being ambidextrous. So Mark Laughlin with the Ambidextral Gunfighter. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.